The early morning mist hung heavily over the grounds of Buckingham Palace, swallowing the golden gates in a quiet, eerie stillness. London had not yet fully awakened, but inside the royal residence, something extraordinary was already in motion, something that would send shockwaves through the monarchy and beyond. At precisely 6:42 a.m., an emergency summons was issued. Not the kind that follows protocol. Not the kind that waits for daylight or diplomatic scheduling. This was different. This was urgent, controlled, and unmistakably serious. Within the hour, senior members of the royal household were arriving one by one through the private entrance. No cameras, no announcements, only whispers among staff who had never seen the palace move this fast, this silently, this tensely. At the center of it all was King Charles III, seated in the crimson drawing room, a space traditionally reserved for ceremonial audiences. But today, there was nothing ceremonial about his posture. His expression was firm, his hands folded tightly, his gaze fixed on the long mahogany table as if weighing a decision that had been building for months, perhaps years. Standing near the tall windows, looking outward but seeing nothing, was Queen Camilla. The silence between them was not comfortable. It was charged, heavy, final. No one spoke at first. Even the advisors who had been called in, men and women accustomed to political storms and constitutional crises, seemed unsure how to begin. Finally, King Charles broke the silence. "This matter ends today," he said, his voice low but unshakable. "There will be no further discussion." A murmur moved through the room, quickly suppressed. One senior aide cautiously stepped forward. "Your Majesty, do you mean in regard to the restructuring proposal or—" Charles lifted a hand. "Everything," he interrupted. The word landed like a stone dropped into still water. Camilla finally turned toward him. "Charles, this is not something that can be resolved with a single declaration." But his expression did not soften. "It already has been resolved." Outside the palace walls, the world remained unaware that a storm was forming within. But inside, the machinery of monarchy was shifting in real time. The king rose slowly, walking toward the fireplace. The crackling fire reflected in his eyes, giving them a flicker of something unreadable, resolve, sorrow, and something deeper that even those closest to him struggled to define. "I have received counsel," he continued, "from constitutional advisors, from senior government liaisons, and from the Privy Circle. The conclusion is unanimous." A pause. "Her participation in official royal duties is to be suspended effective immediately." Gasps were subtle but unmistakable. Camilla's face tightened. "Suspended? Charles, you cannot simply—" "I can," he said sharply, turning toward her. "And I have." The room seemed to shrink under the weight of his authority. A senior courtier cautiously asked, "May we clarify? Her Majesty's role is being temporarily paused." Charles shook his head. "Not temporarily." Silence again. Camilla stepped forward now, her voice steadier than her expression. "And what, exactly, is the reason given for this decision?" For the first time, Charles hesitated. The fire popped loudly in the background. Then he spoke. "Stability." The word felt incomplete, but no one dared press further. Yet the tension in the room suggested there was more, far more, beneath the surface. Whispers of internal disagreements, clashes over influence, quiet fractures in the carefully maintained image of unity. One advisor shuffled through documents. "Your Majesty, the public will demand clarity. The press will. The press will be informed only of what is necessary," Charles replied firmly. "No speculation. No elaboration." Camilla's eyes narrowed slightly. "So, I am to disappear from duty without explanation?" "That is not what I said. But it is what you are doing." Another silence fell, sharper this time. Outside, thunder rumbled faintly in the distance, as though the sky itself was responding to the tension building within the palace walls. At that moment, the doors opened again. Prince William entered. The atmosphere shifted immediately. Prince William did not look surprised. That alone spoke volumes. His expression was controlled, measured, carefully neutral in the way only someone raised within institutional pressure could manage. He looked at his father first, then briefly at Camilla, then back to Charles. "I was informed this morning," William said calmly. "I assumed this meeting would be decisive." Camilla exhaled slowly. "So you knew?" William did not answer immediately. That silence was enough. Charles stepped closer to the table. "This is not about personal sentiment. It is about the institution." William nodded once. "Then the institution will support whatever ensures stability." Camilla's eyes flickered. "Even if it destroys trust within it?" That question lingered in the air longer than anyone expected. Charles turned away again, walking slowly back toward the fire. "There are moments," he said quietly, "when leadership demands separation from comfort, even from family perception." The word family felt heavy in that room. A folded document lay on the table. Unsealed. Official. Finalized. Camilla glanced at it but did not touch it. "I was not given a chance to respond," she said. "You are responding now," Charles replied. Her voice lowered. "And what happens next?" For the first time that morning, Charles looked uncertain, but only for a fraction of a second. "Order," he said simply. William stepped slightly forward. "And after that?" Charles did not answer immediately. Instead, he stared into the fire, as if seeing not flames, but consequences stretching far beyond the palace walls, beyond London, beyond anything spoken in that room. Because everyone present understood something unspoken. This was not merely a procedural decision. It was a turning point, a fracture, a redefinition of roles at the highest level of the monarchy. And as Camilla stood still, composed but visibly restrained, the reality settled in. Whatever came next would not be reversible. The silence returned, heavier than before. And somewhere deep within the palace, a clock chimed the hour, marking not just time, but the beginning of something no one in that room would ever fully undo. The final hour passed like a slow collapse of certainty. Official orders were dispatched, signatures confirmed, and doors quietly closed on roles that had once defined the inner circle of the monarchy. By midday, the announcement would be carefully worded, measured, restrained, and deliberately vague, but inside the palace, nothing felt stable anymore. Camilla stood alone for a moment longer than anyone else, looking out at the gardens as if trying to find meaning in the stillness. No confrontation followed. No final argument. Only acceptance, shaped by shock. And as the palace prepared to face the world outside, one truth lingered. Nothing in the royal household would ever be the same again.